Nature of contacts. After reading this unit, you should be able to explain why the Harappans tried to establish links with faraway lands, know about the nature of contacts among the Harappan towns and the surrounding areas, learn about the trade and exchange activities of the Harappans with the contemporary West Asian civilizations, and know about our sources of information on this nature of contact and exchange network. Introduction. The Harappan civilization was characterized by the presence of a large number of small and large towns. Apart from cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, even very small settlements like Aladino near Karachi have yielded material characteristics of an urban economy. An urban economy is characterized by a vast network of relationships which transcend its physical space. You will see in this unit how the people of Harappa were in active interaction with other cities and towns which were located at a distance of hundreds of miles from Harappa. This unit goes on to explain the reasons why did the cities establish trading networks and also the forms of the inter-regional trade. It also takes into account the sources of the raw materials and the extent of contact with the contemporary West Asian civilization. Of course, all this knowledge about the Harappan civilization is gained through various historical sources and they have been mentioned in the unit. Establishment of trading networks. It is believed that active interaction among far-flung areas did not exist in the pre-urban society. One might ask, why did townsmen establish contacts with faraway lands, and how do we know that they had contacts? In urban centers, an important part of the population is engaged in non-food producing activities. These people perform the administrative, religious, trading and manufacturing functions. At the same time, if they are not producing their own food, someone else has to do it for them. That is why towns are dependent on the surrounding countryside for food supplies. What is important for us is the fact that the relationship between the city and the village was unequal. By developing as centers of administration or religion, the cities attracted the wealth of the entire country. This wealth was siphoned off from the hinterland in the form of taxes, tributes, gifts, and purchases of goods. In the Harappan society, this wealth was controlled by the most powerful sections of the urban society. At the same time, the rich and the well-off sections of the city led a luxurious life. Their social superiority was reflected in the buildings constructed by them and the acquisition of the luxury items which were not locally available. This indicates that a major reason for cities establishing contacts with faraway lands was to cater to the needs of the rich and powerful. This may be one of the factors behind the Harappans' attempt to establish links with the faraway lands. The area formed by Harappa, Bahawalpur, and Mohenjo-daro seems to have been the core region of the Harappan civilization. However, settlements showing overwhelming Harappan influence have been found in an area of approximately 1.8 million square kilometer. A pertinent question to ask here is that how some Harappan outposts are found in such far-flung areas as Chotogai in Afghanistan and Bhagatrao in Gujarat. The plausible answer seems to be economic interdependence and trade network between different regions. Differential access to basic resources was crucial in linking various regions of Indus Valley. These resources include agricultural products, minerals, timber, etc., and this could be achieved by establishing trade routes. Emerging in the fertile Indus-Hakka plains, the rich Harappans wanted possessions of more and more luxury items. In quest of this, they strengthened the ties that already existed with Central Asia and Afghanistan. They also established settlements in places like Gujarat and the Gangetic Valley. Intra-regional contacts. In the following sections, we shall try to assess the nature of the contacts among the Harappan towns themselves and with other cities and societies of their period. Our information on such contact is based on the reports of objects found during the excavations of Harappan towns. Some of this information is substantiated by references found in the literary sources of the contemporary Mesopotamian civilization. Cities. We could begin with the evidence of the existence of granaries in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. These large structures were meant for storing grains. As pointed out earlier, urban centers depend on the villages for their food. The presence of granaries indicates the attempt of the rulers to possess an assured source of the food supply. Presumably, food grains were brought from the surrounding villages and stored here. This in turn would be redistributed to the townsmen. Grains are a bulk commodity which are consumed every day. Vast quantities of grains would have to be collected and transported in bullock carts and boats. it would be difficult to haul up large quantities of food over a great distance. That is why it has been found that towns were usually located in the most fertile areas that were available in the region, and probably the grains were collected from the surrounding villages. For example, the Mohenjo-daro was located in the Larkana district of Sindh. Even in modern times, this is the most fertile area of Sindh. However, some other settlements sprang up on important trade routes or industrial sites. In such cases, the location was determined not so much by the presence of fertile agriculture tracts as by possibilities of trade and exchange. That is why when scholars analyze the cause for the location of large cities, analyze the causes for the location of large cities, they look for the potentialities of the place for fruit production and its proximity to trade routes and mineral sources. If we go by these considerations, Harappa is very well located. The entire geographical space to its northwest has not yielded evidence for any other Harappan settlement. Even in the 19th century, this area was largely inhabited by pastoral nomads. Some scholars are of the opinion that Harappa was located at a point which separated the zone of agricultural settlements to its south and zone of pastoral nomads to its northwest. This way, Harappa could exploit the resources of both the neighboring communities. It has also been suggested that although Harappa did not have any advantage in terms of food production, it grew into a large city because of its strategic location as a trading settlement. If we place Harappa in the center and draw a circle around it covering an area of about 300 km, we can see that Harappa had a very advantageous location. Harappans would have access to the Hindu Kush and northwest frontier. This meant that within a distance covered by about 10 days of traveling, Harappans had access to such precious stones as turquoise and lapis lazuli, which were brought through these routes. They could get mineral salt from the salt range. Tin and copper were accessible to them from Rajasthan. Probably, they could also exploit the resources of amethyst and gold in Kashmir. This 300-kilometer circle would give them access to the point where all the 5 rivers of Punjab joined into a single stream. This means that the Harappans could control the river transport of all the 5 rivers of Punjab. River transportation was far easier in those times when concrete roads did not exist. This could provide them access to timber from the mountain zones of Kashmir. That is why it has been found that Harappa is located in a place which is crossed by many trade routes from west and east even in modern times. The settlements at Mohenjo-daro and Lothal also had their own logic in terms of location. Some scholars believe that the apparently religious nature of large structures in Mohenjo-daro might indicate that it was a ritual center. Whether it was a ritual center or not, the rich people here were using gold, silver and all kinds of precious articles which were not locally available. Mohenjo-daro was closer to the sea compared to Harappa. This would give them easier access to the Persian Gulf and Mesopotamia, which were probably the chief suppliers of silver. Similarly, Lothal was drawing resources from southern Rajasthan and Deccan. They probably helped the Harappans procure gold from Karnataka, where contemporary Neolithic sites have been discovered near the gold mines. Villages. The villages supplied the essential food grains and other raw materials to the towns, but what were the Harappan towns giving to the villages in return? We have few clues for an answer. One answer is that the rulers of the towns used force to collect grains, calling it tax, which was to be given in return for administration. However, one important ingredient of this rural-urban relationship was the ability of the urban centers to collect a whole range of items that were not available locally and supply them to the rural hinterland. One item of interest was the stone tools. People in almost all the Harappan towns and villages were using parallel-sided stone blades. These blades were made out of very good quality stone, not found everywhere. It has been found that such stone was brought from sites like Sukkur in Sindh. This hypothesis is proved by the fact that in sites like Rangpur in Gujarat, people were using stone tools brought from distant areas during the urban phase of Harappa. Once the Harappan civilization declined, the people in these areas started using tools made of local stones. Other such items would be copper and bronze. Copper is available only in certain pockets. However, almost all the Harappan sites have yielded copper-bronze tools. These tools also show a uniformity in design and execution in almost all the Harappan sites. This indicates that Their production and distribution must have been handled by centralized decision-making bodies. They could be the merchants or the administrators residing in the towns. Apart from these items, which were strategically important in terms of the economic activities, the Harappan settlements, big and small, have yielded objects of gold, silver, and very many precious and semi-precious stones. These metals and stones were procured from the merchants and rulers of the cities. With the inception of urbanism, the volume of trade within the Harappan civilization increased in scale and variety to an unprecedented scale. Sites like Mohenjo-daro reveal evidence of extensive bed making. These products filter down to the rich and the powerful in the small villages and towns. What emerges from the preceding discussion is that the location of the villages could be primarily determined by the availability of fertile soil and irrigation facilities. The location of towns will be determined by such additional factors as their proximity to mining districts or trade routes. Sometimes the factor of trade became so important that towns were established in inhospitable plains where agricultural yields were very poor. For example, Sutka Gendor on the Makran coast was one such site. It is located in an inhospitable area and its prime activity was a trading post between the Hadappans and the Mesopotamians. Similarly, we can look at the functions performed in the other cities of the Harappan civilization. Balakot on the coast of Baluchistan and Chanudaro in Sindh were centers of shell working and bangle making. Lothal and Chanudaro were producing beds of carnelian, agate, etc. Some unfinished beds of lapis lazuli in Chanudaro might indicate that the Hadappans imported precious stones from faraway places and then worked them before selling them. Mohenjo-daro has yielded evidence for the presence of a large number of craft specialists like stone workers, potters, copper and bronze workers, brick makers, seal cutters and bed makers, etc. Source of raw materials. Excavations at different Harappan sites provide us with a large number of bangles, bed potteries, various copper, bronze and stone objects. The range of objects discovered from the Harappan settlements indicates that they were using many kinds of metals and precious stones which would not be uniformly available in every region. The interesting thing is that even in very small Harappan sites, precious stones and metal tools have been found. This indicates an intensive exchange network among the Hadappans catering to the needs of the rich. What were the sources of the minerals and metals used by the Hadappans? They acquired copper from Khetri mines of Rajasthan. The settlements of Jodhpura, Bagor and Ganeshwar in central Rajasthan, which are generally considered contemporary with the Hadappans, might have supplied copper ore to them. In Ganeshwar, over 400 copper arrowheads, 50 fish hooks and 50 copper axes were found. At the same time, the people in these settlements were subsisting with the combination of pastoral nomadism and hunting gathering. They do not indicate influences from the Harappan civilization. This adds complexity to our problem of trade linkages. Archaeologists believe that the Hadappans were importing copper tools from an area where people were still pastoralists and hunters. However, we do not know the mechanism through which these two groups, one representing an advanced urban civilization and the other representing a pastoral tribe, interacted. Probably the contacts were indirect. The Hadappans might have met some of their needs of copper from sources in Baluchistan and northwest frontier province also. Gold was most probably obtained from Kolar goldfields of Karnataka and Kashmir. Some Neolithic sites have been located in this region that were contemporary with the Hadappans. Gold washing is reported from Jaipur and Sirohi in Rajasthan, Hazara, Kangra and Jhang in Punjab, Himachal Pradesh and along Kabul and Indus rivers. Silver vessels are frequently found in the Harappan sites. However, there are no known sources for silver in this area. Silver might have been imported from Afghanistan and Iran. Probably the Indus merchants also exchanged their goods with the Mesopotamians for silver. That may have come from Kashmir or Rajasthan. Some minor sources were located from Punjab and Baluchistan also. The precious stone lapis lazuli was available only in Badakhshan in northeastern Afghanistan, that the Hadappans exploited. This source is confirmed by the discovery of Harappan sites like Shotugai and Altin Deep in this area. Turquoise and jade could have been obtained from the Central Asia alone. Agate, Chalcedony and carnelian were from Saurashtra and Western India. Seashells, so very popular with the Harappans, must have come from the sea coast of Gujarat and Western India. Mand in Jammu is located at a point where the river Chenab becomes navigable. Probably good quality timber was acquired from the regions further up and sent to central Indus Valley down the rivers. At Sotugai, large quantity of lapis lazuli was discovered in association with the Harappan remains. This indicates that the Harappans were colonizing far-flung areas for the exploitation of mineral resources. This also indicates that trading and procurement of exotic materials was an important concern of the Harappans. Trading seems to have been more an administrative activity than an exchange activity between traders, since establishing a colony at a distance of around 500 km would not be possible for a trader. It were the administrators of Harappa who were trying to bring under direct control resources of distant areas. Exchange system. The Harappans had established an extensive network of inter-regional trade inside and outside the Indian subcontinent. However, we do not know what were the actual mechanisms of exchange between the Harappans and the non-Harappans. Such a large area of interaction would inevitably involve communities having divergent lifestyles. In those times, large areas of the country were inhabited by hunter-gatherers. Some other areas were occupied by pastoral nomads. Still others were just beginning cultivation. Compared to them, Harappans represented an advanced stage of civilization. If the Harappans had to exploit some mineral sources from the regions inhabited by the hunter-gatherers or some other communities, how would they go about it? In some cases, the Harappans established their settlements in those areas, but this would not be feasible in every case. Probably, these non-Harappan communities would be given items which they considered valuable. In such cases, the exchange might not have been a regular affair. Rather, it would be determined by seasonal migrations and gathering of these communities. The Harappans would send their merchants to the spots where such seasonal gatherings took place. The pastoral nomads too could have brought goods from distant regions in course of their migrations. These kinds of exchange activities are known from modern examples in India. However, we know very little about the Harappan exchange system. The exchange system among the Harappan towns. The Harappans had made distinct attempts at regulating trade and exchange amongst themselves. Even the far-flung Harappan sites have yielded uniform systems of weights and measures. The weights followed a binary system in the lower denominations 1, 2, 4, 8, 2, 64, then going to 160, and then in decimal multiples of 16, 320, 640, 1600, 32, etc. Made of chert, limestone, stearite, etc., they are generally cubical in shape. The measures of length were based upon a unit of foot of 37.6 cm and a unit of cubic of about 51.8 to 53.6 cm. Such uniform system of weights and measures indicates an attempt by the central authorities to regulate exchange among the Harappans themselves and possibly with the non-Harappans too. Seals and ceilings have been discovered in large numbers in Harappan settlements. Seals and ceilings are marks of ownership meant to guarantee the quality of the product being sent to faraway lands. That they were used for trade in is confirmed by the fact that many of the ceilings bear impressions of cords and matting behind them. This indicates that the ceilings bearing these impressions were originally stuck to bales of merchandise. At Lothal, many ceilings were discovered lying among the ashes in the ventilation shafts of warehouses. They must have been discarded and thrown away after the imported goods have been unpacked. The seals carried intaglio designs of various animals and a writing which has not been deciphered as yet. However, their use in long-distance exchange seems certain. Trade with the Persian Gulf and Mesopotamia. So far, we have talked about the inter-regional exchange activities of the Harappans. In these activities, Harappans were the dominant partners. Now, we shall discuss the trade and exchange activities of Harappans with the contemporary West Asian civilizations. Mesopotamia was located thousands of miles away from the Harappan heartland. Yet, these two civilizations had some kind of trade linkage. Archaeological evidence for contacts. Our information about the exchange comes from the finds of typical Harappan seals in Mesopotamia. About 2 dozen seals, either Harappan or made in imitation of Harappan seals, have been found in the Mesopotamian cities like Susa or etc. Recently, some of the Persian Gulf ancient sites like Falka and Bahrain have also yielded Harappan seals. In the Mesopotamian city of Nippur, a seal has been found with Harappan script and a unicorn shown on it. Similarly, 2 square Indus seals with unicorn and Indus script were reported from the Mesopotamian city of Kish. In another city called Umma, was found sealing from the Indus Valley, meaning that some goods had been received here from the Indus Valley. In the settlements of Tel Asmar were found certain Harappan ceramics, etched carnelian beds, and kidney-shaped bone inlay. All of these indicate trade linkages between Mesopotamia and the Hadappans. A distinct type of terracotta figurines generally found in the Indus Valley has been found in Nippur in Mesopotamia. These figurines depicting a male nude with obese stomach, animal-like faces, stubby tails, and shoulder holes for the attachment of movable arms are common at the Harappan sites. The finds of 3 similar figures in Nippur are indicative of some Harappan influence. Again, it has been found that the Indus dice types 1x2, 3x6, 4x5 were found in the Mesopotamian cities of Ur, Nippur, and Tel Asmar. Apart from these beds having distinctive designs have been found in Mesopotamia, and they seem to have been brought from the Indus Valley. Beds from Chanudaro with single, double, or triple circular designs closely resemble some beds discovered in Kish in Mesopotamia. Harappan weights have been found in Persian Gulf and Mesopotamian sites. From the Harappan civilization, the finds of the objects of the Mesopotamian origin are almost non-existent. In Mohenjo-daro, 3 cylindrical seals of the Mesopotamian type have been found. However, they too seem to have been made in some center of Harappan civilization. Some metal objects might have been derived from Mesopotamia. In the settlement of Lothal was found a circular button seal. This seal has been found in the large numbers in the excavations at the port of Bahrain. These seals seem to have originated in the Persian Gulf ports. Also, bun-shaped copper ingots have been found in Lothal. These are similar to the ones found in Persian Gulf islands and Susa. Given the scarcity of material objects which could show contacts between the Hadappans and the Mesopotamians, some scholars have questioned the notion of direct trade exchange between these civilizations. It is believed that the Hadappans might have taken their wares to the settlement in the Persian Gulf. Some of these were further transported to Mesopotamian towns by the merchants of the Persian Gulf ports like Bahrain. Literary evidence for exchange. In Mesopotamia, some ancient writings have been discovered which give us an idea of their trade linkages with the Harappan civilization. The famous king Sargon of Akkad 350 BC in Mesopotamia boasts that the ships of Dilmun, Bagan, and Melua were mooted at his capital. Scholars have generally identified Melua with the coastal towns of the Hadappans or the regions of the river Indus. Some scholars have suggested that Magan refer to the Makran coast. Some other documents used by the merchants of the city of the Ur have also come down to us. They indicate that the merchants of the Ur imported copper, carnelian, ivory, shell, lapis lazuli, pearls, and ebony from Melua. All these objects seem to have been available in plenty in the Harappan sites. In some cases, like copper, we are not aware of any major sources of supply to the Hadappans. However, we should remember that the Hadappans were exploiting a very large geographical zone extending up to Central Asia. They might have captured the trading networks that had existed in Central Asia and Afghanistan in the early Harappan period. The early Mesopotamian literature also refers to a community of merchants from Meluha living in Mesopotamia. In another instance, written documents from Mesopotamia refer to an official interpreter of the Meluhan language. All these examples indicate that the links between the Hadappans and the Mesopotamians were not indirect. Given the distance between these societies, we cannot expect regular interaction. However, the relations were fairly close for the Mesopotamian kings to boast about the ships from Meluha coming to their ports. The absence of Mesopotamian goods in Harappa can be explained by the fact that traditionally the Mesopotamians exported items like garments, wool, perfumed oil, and leather products. All these items are perishable and as such they have not left any trace. Silver might have been one of the items of export. Silver was not available in any known Harappan source. However, they were using it in large quantities. This could be an import from Mesopotamia. Mode of transport. The discussion about the nature of contact and exchange brings in the question of the transportation. Many representations of ships and boats are found on the seals in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. At Lothal was found a terracotta model of a ship with a stick impressed socket for the mast and eye holes for fixing rigging. At Lothal was also discovered a brick basin 219 by 37 meter in length with brick walls of 4.5 meters in height. The excavator believed that it was a dockyard. Apart from this site, the seashore of the Arabian Sea seems to have been dotted with many seaports. Places like Rangpur, Somnath, and Balagod would have functioned as outlets for the Hadappans. Even in the inhospitable Makaran coast, Harappan sites like Sutka Gendor and Sutka Ko have been discovered. The primary reason for their location in those inhospitable tracts was that they were safe from the dangerous monsoon storms and currents hitting the sea coast in western India and Sindh. In the monsoon months, they could function as outlets for the Hadappans. Sutka Gendor is located on the borders of the present day Pakistan and Iran. It is likely that even in the Iranian side, there were some Harappan settlements. They have not been explored so far. But this kind of extension along the sea coast would provide the Harappan ships points of anchorage right up to the Persian Gulf. The inland transport was done with bullock carts. Many terracotta models of bullock carts have been found in Harappan settlements. In Harappa was found a bronze model of a cart with a seated driver and also models of little carts which are very similar to the modern Ikka used in Punjab. For longer journey through wooded country, caravans of pack oxen would be the chief means of transport. In historical times, a large number of goods were transported by pastoral nomadic communities. Possibly the Hadappans also engaged in similar practices. However, in those times, river systems would have been the channels of transportation because they were cheaper and safer. Now let us sum up. We have seen from the above discussion that the Harappan civilization seems to have carried a brisk internal trade. Internal trade would mean exchange activities carried over an area of 1.3 million square kilometer. This exchange activity is clear from the fact that even very small Harappan sites like Aladino have yielded ceilings, many kinds of beds of semi-precious stones and metal utensils. Most of these objects were imported from outside. The location of Harappan settlements along navigable waterways and traditional land routes also indicates deep involvement of the Hadappans in exchange activities. Their linkages with the contemporary West Asian cultures is also well documented now. No wonder we call them a city-centered community.